to quote a bad 70s disco movie, thank God it's Friday. No, just kidding. Hey, Russ.
Hey.
Well, okay, we'll just do a little pre-show here. You had some interesting TV numbers.
Yeah, so World Series Game 1 pulled in a 10.2, which in World Series number is not great. 2015 was higher. The last year was higher. So
which with the Cubs,
Cubs and Indians. Like even when I wrote the article about it, you do have to sort of throw that one out. But the interesting thing is, so 10.2. In the last 3 years, the highest Stanley Cup was 5.7. So a little less than half. So my basic argument is this: while hockey is still a niche sport, baseball's falling down to hockey, or hockey's rising up to baseball. However you want to look at it, but it's getting closer.
Baseball's become a regional sport.
Yeah,
I mean, all these regional cable networks.
Even Fox is just giving regional numbers. They didn't even want to give out the real number.
Well, that was the thing I was going to ask, because the Yankees-Astros series mostly was on Fox Sports 1. It was not on Fox, the network.
Right.
And I don't know the numbers, but I know that they were probably trying to drive traffic to Fox Sports 1, because this is what like ESPN2 did back in the day. They would put things on ESPN2 that would make cable subscribers subscribe to ESPN2.
Right.
And the NFL Network has done that with, or the NFL has done that with NFL Network and other, but that hurts baseball in a way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I'll tell you something else that hurts baseball. And I know Fox paid a lot of money, so it's their channel. They can do whatever they want. But when you have mainly Fox stars that you feel like showing at the World Series, it's just too staged. You showed Jerry Seinfeld, which was great, but then every other star that I saw was a Fox star. So, that's never good, because not everybody watches Fox television, and they have a right. But I'm just saying, these are a few things as to why ratings are down. And another one is just because of overall entertainment. There's so much more entertainment that you do have to really capture the imagination now of the public. You do.
Yeah, I don't have as much problem with that, because they paid for the coverage, like you said, and I've seen other networks do it. It's like, like ABC, Disney owns ESPN, and I've seen like, Kiefer Sutherland at a football game because he designated survivors on ABC. You know what I'm saying? It's like, they do cross-plugging. They constantly do that, and they figure we paid billions for this. The least we're going to do is drive some ratings to our show.
No, I get it, but I'm just saying for the casual looker, who doesn't care, or somebody who maybe cut the cord and doesn't watch that much of Fox, that's just boring to them. Like, they don't care about people.
But I think the thing that's more annoying is the repetitive commercials. And for people who, I mean, honestly, I'm about ready to cut the cord. It's because seeing one too many, triangle solos for the Geico commercial.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to pull what's left of my hair out of my skull after watching that stupid friggin' thing.
So speaking of bad music, so there's this article that came out that said now 70s, or just not even 70s, but just older soft rock is cool. And people could tweet along with that. I put it up on Sportsology on Twitter, and I said, Air Supply.
Oh, come on.
Obviously,
that's 80s. That's 80s.
Well, whatever. I just said older. That's why I didn't go total 70s.
If we go 70s.
Bread. Hall & Oates is the subject of the article. But I'm going to tell you the one that struck off a chord.
Okay.
And I guess it's because they've had at least one of their songs in hockey arenas, but it still doesn't make it hard rock or good, and that's Europe. And I'm sorry, Europe falls in that same pit.
They're only known for one song, the stupid Final Countdown.
I know. So when a lot of people coming to Europe's defense, a lot.
Well, what we need more of in hockey arenas is more Paul Davis, 65 Love Affair, and I Go Crazy. That kind of stuff. England Dan and John Ford Coley, Eric Carmen.
No, it needs to all just die.
Don't worry, they will.
I'm not wishing it on the people, just the music. All right.
Let's start the show. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Friday, October 27th, 2017.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the HockeyBuzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. We had a whole bunch of games last night. I want to start with the one that was at Madison Square Garden between the struggling New York Rangers and the decrepit Arizona Coyotes. And the Coyotes lose the game by a score of 5-2. And the Coyotes now are 0-9-1. Not an auspicious beginning. We talked a little bit about that on previous shows, but it's getting to the point now, Russ, and I wrote an article regarding, and it's way too early to talk about trade situations. I mean, trades are not going to happen until probably American Thanksgiving going forward until the deadline. Right. But look at the construction of the Arizona Coyotes, especially on defense. And I know Ack touched about it in his blog today about Yarmolson, a guy who gets traded from the Blackhawks, a guy who's won Stanley Cups. He's there as basically an extended rental for this year or next year.
Right.
Oliver Ekman-Larsson's on the same length of contract. This team, with the exception, I think 2012, when they got to the conference final, has been pathetic. At least in terms of their performance on the ice. They have a lot of good young prospects who I like. Clayton Keller, Max Domi, Anthony Duclair, so on and so forth. But this organization's got to think about these players who are around for a little more than a year and have to think when it's time that they have to move them, because unless Oliver Ekman-Larsson loves Arizona and loves losing, I don't know how he resigns after next year. So John Chaika is going to start thinking, I better move him before I'm forced to move him or before I have no leverage.
It's going to be a problem. There's no question about it. I don't know how long it's going to last. And, I'm looking, it wasn't even penalties that did him in either. I mean, they only had 3 penalties. Demers had a fighting and a roughing, but 3 penalties. So, and that really negated because it was Kreider and he had a cross-checking and a fighting. So really just 2 penalties. That didn't do him in. What did do him in was bad goaltending. And that's roster construction. You didn't know that Antti Raanta would get hurt. You didn't. But I'm assuming Domingue is hurt. Like, why is he not playing ever?
Well, they had back-to-back, so they played Domingue, and then they played Adin Hill. Now, who played last night?
Adin Hill played again.
I mean,
so I guess they just like Adin Hill better, but he's not any better. He's worse. It's just that's the part that's confusing. So watching them in game, their defense is not bad, and they do have lapses because they do have some young players. They did have a big problem when they were at the end of the game. When they had the extra attacker on the ice, they were very predictable. Mm-hmm. You could blame that on the players, but I'm going to blame the coaching on that because Michael Grabner just sniffed it out early, got a goal, and with the empty net and ended that game quickly. But they weren't very creative once they had their extra guy on the ice, and I blame that a little on coaching.
Well, the one goal I saw that was really a pathetic defensive breakdown, I think it was Zibanejad's goal where he had a wide-open chance. The goalie made the stop, and he had the time to get the rebound, pull it back, and make another really golden opportunity and cashed it in. I mean, you can't. Sometimes you can't stop that first chance, but you have to cover up on the second chance, and they just weren't there.
No, there's that. There was a glove. Second goal of the game, it was a really slow glove hand. Unfortunately, I don't think he's an NHL caliber goalie at the moment. And having him in against a team like the Rangers who were desperate, you got the results that you pretty much expected. Now, Clayton Keller did look good, and he did get a goal. And it's funny how a lot of great players, and yes, I do think he will be a great player, a superstar, come into MSG and do get their first goal at him. Not their first goal ever, but their first goal at MSG, and he got that out of the way early on. That was his first game there as a Coyote. I'm not sure if he ever played there when they had some college games there. He may have. But as a Coyote, that's his first goal there, and that's a pretty big deal. So Give him credit because even when a team is going bad, he still manages to do many good things.
Well, but he's succeeding in spite of his lack of hockey IQ. Oh, wait a second.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I was scanning through this morning and I saw an article. I can't remember who wrote it, but it was somebody who was posturing about did the Rangers make a mistake trading Derek Stepan?
No, the answer is no, and I'll tell you why. The Stepan also had a breakdown on the wall that led to the first goal. So, and that was something that we had started to see as Stepan moved on in his career, because the strength factor, even though he's a smaller guy, the strength factor isn't great with Derek Stepan. And he doesn't have the same kind of speed that he used to. He is a smart player, but now he's sort of, one of those players that has to survive being a step ahead mentally. And he loses physical battles, and he did lose one yesterday. So I don't think they miss him at all. I don't think that's the problem at all. Now, I get it because D'Angelo's in the minors. You don't have anything showing for that deal.
Right.
Still doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, is it safe to say that the reason he was traded was because of the $6.5 million salary?
That was the reason. If he was making less money, he'd still be on the team.
Right. Well, game that I was at, and boy,
we'll put it in parentheses, game.
Well, yeah, it was. If you ask Mike Babcock, it wasn't a game. It was
right.
It was a travesty, and I think the story more after the game and even this morning was the reaction of certain players to the Leafs' 6-3 loss to Carolina. Now it's funny. The Leafs are 7-3. There's no reason to complain about their record so far. 3 losses that they have, they've all lost by the same score, 6-3. So in those games, they weren't really in the game for most of the game. Last night, they tied up the game after falling behind early and then gave up 3 straight goals to Carolina, who up until yesterday had trouble scoring. The reaction of Mike Babcock after the game, he was incredulous. He was extra.
I think I hear Cousin Eddie looking that one up now. But sorry, keep going.
He held his fire. He didn't say anything that he would regret, but he was obviously frustrated and said he would talk to the players about it today. And
yeah,
they had the shortest practice that they had, basically a 20-minute practice. The players left the ice, and Babcock collected the pucks. So something's off here.
Right.
He is not pleased. And Frederick Anderson, who gave up six goals last night, was not pleased because most of the scoring chances that Carolina had were from point blank range in the slot. Some of them uncontested. The one
some of them were because of their speed, though.
Yes, I mean, I'm not taking away anything away from Carolina. Like I said, I think they have some good young talent. I still think they need more scoring, but their players got to open.
Otherwise, 6 isn't enough against the Leafs. You'd want like 12, right?
Well, yeah, yeah. See, this is the thing. They're scoring they have 43 goals in 10 games, so they're scoring 4.3 goals per game. Not a bad average. This is early in the season. That's not going to last. That's going to drop. And the difference between winning and losing in even Austin Matthews said this. The difference between winning and losing is going to be them being able to win those 2-1s and 3-2 games. And last night, what was my concern going into the season reared its ugly head. I mean, they brought Roman Polak to solidify their bottom pairing. That's all fine and good. I think he does that, even though he didn't have a great game last night. The problem is that their top 4 isn't good enough.
Right.
Morgan Riley's had 2 bad games in a row. The Jake Gardner, Nikita Zaitsev pairing played badly yesterday. Now, the defense is more than just the blue line. It's also the forwards as well. But you can't force Frederick Anderson to stand on his head, and you can't force your offensive players who clearly have the mindset of attacking to have to come back all the time. You need
which line was Marner on yesterday?
Well, Marner started on the 4th line, and then Matt Martin got hurt early in the 3rd period, and they started putting the lines in the mix match.
But before that, he was on the fourth line.
Still on the fourth line and playing well.
That's a bad thing because Babcock is not really used to having guys who could produce offensively on a fourth line. He's one of those coaches that generally doesn't do that fourth line that could score thing. And I think that's probably caused his own matchup problem for his own team as a result.
Well, he did do it at times last year with Nylander. So, I mean,
yeah, but Nylander or Marner are different players. Like, if you're going to say which player do I think can handle his own end a little better, I'm going to still say Nylander over Marner because Marner still does have the propensity once in a while to cough it up. And I think if you're putting out, if you have another team and you have a bunch of tough guys and you're putting them out against the Marner line, unless you're giving up goals, you are going to get the edge on grit and strength. And that's something where I'm not sure Babcock should do that every game. I don't think he's going to probably do it much anymore. But
and I don't think this is an indicator of things to come. But when they started mixing lines in the third period, couple shifts they had Marner playing center. They had Marner playing center between Marlowe and I think Connor Brown. I mean, there were so many. They had Dominic Moore playing left wing.
No, but the fact that they started to mix him into center is probably a telling thing because they're probably starting to ease him into it. Because I've told you, I think at some point that is their plan.
I'm not sure. I mean, honestly, I think unless they just think that the combo of Matthews and Nylander is so dynamic that they can't move Nylander.
That's what I think they think.
Yeah, I don't know whether they believe that Marner is physically capable of playing.
Well, that's why I think they're sort of doing these tests with him and working, easing them into the pool, as it were. But I got to give Carolina credit, though, because they – the Leafs came back like they do against everybody, but they weathered it. And that's the thing about the Leafs. If you just keep playing your game, play fast, keep getting the puck in the Leafs' end, they will make mistakes. That defense will make mistakes, and they do. And they, in those bad games, when the Leafs have a bad defensive game, they do give up 4, 5, 6 goals. They do. And through 10 games, they've given up 36 goals. Yeah, it's a lot.
So that's – Anderson's save percentage is under 900. But I honestly, I don't blame him for that.
He's had some third period lapses, but it's not on him, though.
And on Saturday, the Leafs will play Philadelphia, so that should be –
That's probably good for them. I mean, that's one game where if we switch to that – I said yesterday I kind of thought Philly could come out sleepy in that one because it's Giroux's hometown and Konechny is, a returning star, and they did start off really slow. They eventually got back into it to the point where 2 goals were taken off the board, and they lost 5-4. The first goal that they called goaltender interference, I did think it was goaltender interference. And there is a rule, like the rule for goaltender interference. If you read the rule, even the goalie can try and push you out of the way. Mm-hmm. But if they feel like you are limiting him from making a glove save or a kick save, even though you're in the crease and you're allowed in the crease, it's goaltender interference. And so that's why I think they took the first one off. Now, the second one, they have no leg to stand on the NHL. Like, this is another one now. The NHL all of a sudden is, with the refs and the in Toronto, they have gotten very, standoffish and really doubling down on bad calls. Like, they used to admit when there was a bad call. I don't think they've admitted a bad call this year, do you?
No, they haven't. But going back to the Leaf game for a second, it sort of goes on this line here. Leafs are trailing 4-3 in the third period. They get a power play. And I think it was Pesci had shot the puck over the glass. And on the face-off, Bozak gets kicked out. Kadri comes in. His feet are behind the line. The Lindholm puts his stick down. Kadri goes to put his stick down. Lindholm moves forward, and the puck is dropped. And Kadri goes in one motion. They blow it down, and they call him for the face-off violation. And that was a turning point in the game because moments later, Carolina makes it 5-3. Honestly, I don't have a problem with them being, trying to redefine or strictly interpret the rules. But I believe all these slashing calls and all these face-off violations are faux penalties. They're fake penalties. Not to go with fake news here. I'm just saying they're. I think this is an artificial way of them increasing offense. And it's pathetic. It's really
I do think that to a degree. I look, a slash is a slash. We're just used to harder slashes, but I'm willing to forgive the slashing ones. It's the ones in the face-off circle that have everybody confused, players and otherwise. Like there's just now sometimes players don't even know what to do because they don't know if they're going to get kicked out of the circle or get kicked into the penalty box like I saw in the Flyers game the other day. So I admit that's a huge problem.
And this one, it's Russ, it's smacked of one of those calls where a player gets called for tripping and the player who was tripped gets called for diving. It's sort of like a saw-off because it was on the face-off for the power play. It's like, come on. It just didn't make any sense.
So here's going back to the other negated call now in the Flyers game. Late in the game, Couturier jammed one in against Anderson, but when I guess they went to contest it, the refs went with a rule, and there is a rule, and again, I was unaware that you now no longer need to whistle a play dead to stop play or to negate a goal. And so now that play, because a referee thought it was done, didn't whistle it, it was still dead. And that's the defense, and I think it's weak. And I don't like it. I think that's the reason they have a whistle, is because the opposite players do need to hear it, because otherwise you can't ever stop playing, right? You can't. That's the idea is, you stop when it whistles, especially if they're jamming on a goalie, like you could hurt somebody. On this one, they stopped it too soon. They lost sight of it. I get that sometimes, but again, if you lose sight of the puck, I would like a whistle for that, because that at least gives the other team a fair chance that, hey, it's a dead play. But when you don't even whistle it, I don't see how you negate that goal.
Yeah. Moving on to other games, it was the Danton Heinen show.
Yeah.
For the Boston Bruins, who scores 2 goals in a 2-1 victory over the Sharks. Joe Thornton got a point in this game, so he's now in top 20 all-time of NHL scoring. Surprising thing here, Anton Khudobin makes, I think it was 36 saves for the victory. Now, I don't know whether Rask, this was just a back-to-back scenario, or if Rask.
I think Rask is still hurt.
Okay, so if they can get that kind of goaltending out of Khudobin to fill the gap,
it's
a big deal. Because a few years ago,
the young kids and everything else were able to lock down a lead that they had, which I guess has been a problem in games.
Yeah, and that's understandable, especially if you're young guys on the blue line. But there's a lot of talent there with Carlo and McAvoy. Pittsburgh wins another one in overtime, 2-1 over the Winnipeg Jets. Phil Kessel again with the overtime winner. He's just unstoppable, Phil Kessel.
Yeah. Although he is stoppable because they showed him playing basketball in Winnipeg.
What was that all about?
It was just, it was just to loosen up, and it said on the mean street of Winnipeg, which was funny. And I guess he looked like he was playing Ryan Reeves. And Phil's got a decent outside shot, but it just wasn't going for him. It wasn't falling for him, but at least on the ice it is. So.
The Montreal Canadiens and LA Kings. Los Angeles wins 4-0. The burgeoning Montreal offense.
It's not a shock.
Yes, it just. I'm sorry. It's like I hate to like rub salt in the wound, but
I don't know if you hate it because you're smiling, but okay.
No, but it's
just a bad actor, Mike.
No, thank you. It just reinforces. Whenever they play like this, whenever they get shut out, it just reinforces my opinion. But it's the opinion of a lot of people. It's the opinion of a lot of observers over the last few years of the downfall of this organization. They have a great goaltender in Carey Price, who honestly has not played great this year. And last night He let in a goal. I think it was Toffoli's goal that made it 2-0. Where if this was Carey Price, a confident Carey Price, there's no way that this puck goes in. But Toffoli was allowed to walk in to the lower part of the faceoff circle and blow a shot by Price. And Price, I don't know if he was caught deep in the net or he was just shocked that his defense let this guy walk in. But that's part and parcel with what's going on with the Habs right now.
Yeah, things are snowballing, and it's affecting their goalie now. That's bad.
Yeah. Or is that? Oh, the Tampa Bay beats Detroit 3-2. Nikita Kucherov. Everybody paid attention to Ovechkin at the beginning of the season because he shot out to this big lead.
Yeah.
Kucherov, I believe he has 14 goals now. I think he scored his 14th yesterday.
Crazy.
He was leading the league with 13. I believe he added one.
14 in how many games?
I believe 11.
So he technically will soon be on pace for Wayne Gretzky's record, the unbreakable record.
Well, I mean, he's got 13. I mean, nobody's catching, nobody's doing 50 and 30 now.
But he's more than a goal a game.
Yeah, he's got 12. He's got 12 goals. Excuse me, he's got 12 goals.
In this era, it is like getting Gretzky's record.
But yeah, it's stunning. And again, whenever we bring up Kucherov, I have to say, good luck, Steve Yzerman, next year. Good luck.
Yeah, well, but Tampa's a powerhouse right now. There's no doubt about it. Detroit's playing better, but not many teams right now are going to be able to stand up to Tampa. Like, if you play Tampa now in the early part of the schedule, you're in trouble.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday, I'm not sure if it was heard over the ambient noise through the hallway at the Air Canada Center, but someone on the webcast decided to issue a mortal lock. It was a mortal lock in the Florida Panther Anaheim Ducks contest, and if I had the ability to show replay, I would say the mortal lock was the Anaheim Ducks were going to trounce the Florida Panthers.
Although you said I agree with that.
I did, but I wasn't the one who made the mortal lock. You were. And lo and behold, the Florida Panthers won 8-3 over the Anaheim Ducks. Owen Tippett scored his first NHL goal. And now I don't know who played. If this was Gibson, I'm looking at the box score here just to find. I saw some of the highlights but I couldn't tell whether it was Gibson or Ryan Miller. I'm looking here. Hold on. This is very good webcasting here. Sorry, folks, but we're doing this on the fly.
Yeah.
Well, obviously giving up 8 goals, that's not good, but this is a hiccup for Anaheim because they have been playing well of late. It was Gibson and Reto Berra, so Miller is still not back from injury.
No, he's still not back. But this is a big win for Florida. Tippett did get his first goal. He's been working hard, playing hard, so he earned that. Verbata did do well in that game. So, hey, maybe they're going to start, putting it together now. Yeah,
Dandanoff with 2, Verbata with 2, Tippett. Yeah, I mean, the offense was spread out there, and I'm still skeptical with Florida mostly because of their goaltending situation. Because now we know it's Niemi is backing up Reimer. We don't know how long Luongo is going to be out. If Luongo is out long term, I think that really hurts their chances of making the playoffs. Minnesota beats the Islanders 6-4. Minnesota, and we talked about them earlier in the week in connection with the loss of Zach Parise. Luke Cunnin gets his first goal. And I did bring him up saying he could be a good solution to that Zach Parise problem, and I think that's the case. I really do. Not only was it a goal, it was a shorthanded goal. Yes, it was a shorthanded goal, and they got 6 goals from 6 different goal scorers. So offense by committee, which is probably what they're going to have to rely on. I mean, and maybe that'll help them. Yeah, but you have to have guys that step up. Guys like Zucker. I mean, Zucker's only got 3 goals. Right. And I think that's 2 more than Rick Nash.
Remember
that. Yeah, it's true.
It is true.
It's 3 more than Roman Polak.
No, this is no joke. I mean, at the beginning of the Ranger game yesterday, they talked about how Rick Nash is a 200-foot player. Nobody wants to hear that a guy making $7.9 million is a 200-foot player when he has 1 goal and no assists, and he's a -5 in 11 games played. Nobody wants to hear it.
Do you foresee a possibility of them eating 50% of that salary to trade him?
Well, he says he's there for the season. He's got a no trade.
He's got a no trade. He's not going to.
So I don't think he's going to want to go.
Unless Gorton tells him we're not going to re-sign you.
Yeah, but he probably knows that already. I think Nash knows that already, and just that's why he said he was going to stay with the Rangers all year. He likes it there. The problem sometimes is when you are an older, aging player, New York is a great place to play. You've got every amenity. It's a world-class arena. It's a world-class, it's a first-class organization. You get great training facilities. Why is he leaving that?
And you can live in obscurity in a big city.
Yep.
Whereas if he was playing in his hometown,
oh yeah,
and he was doing this, there would be pitchforks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he'd be slammed. He'd be slammed in the media all the time. I was shocked, Russ, to be listening to WFAN, obviously because of all the Girardi talk over the last couple of days, and there was actually mention of the Rangers.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, it wasn't by Mike Francesa. It was by his producer, Monzo Nation. But, and that's what I'm saying. It's like it's hardly even mentioned. They'll talk about something non-New York before they'll talk about the Rangers.
Well, and that's the thing. If you really want to look at it, and again, not many people have brought this up, and I've not been easy on them, but I haven't killed them. I mean, Rick Nash is one of the highest paid players in New York for any sport.
Yes, he is. He's making about 8 times more than Aaron Judge is making.
Yeah,
because Aaron Judge is a rookie.
Yeah.
Couple other scores of Oilers beat the Dallas Stars 5-4. Now I saw only highlights of this, a few highlights, but the one thing that I heard in terms of it being discussed this morning was the fact that the Dallas Stars, again, and this seems to be the pattern now, really was zeroed in on being physical with Connor McDavid. Now, it's easier said than done because he's extremely quick and he's got a great hockey IQ. He's got eyes in the back of his head. But if a team is determined to go after him, now they won the game, but if he takes that kind of abuse and that kind of attention day in, day out, he's going to get hurt. That's maybe the reason why they got Lucic. They have Maroon. They have guys who can protect him. But if he gets that kind of attention and it continues to be that vociferous,
yeah,
it's going to be tough for him.
It could be. I mean, it's things are bad there right now. They need to start scoring. Lucic needs to start scoring. People are asking me, is Yamamoto going back? And I don't think so because nobody there is stepping up. Nobody there is given a reason to send Yamamoto back because they have enough scoring. So it's all hands on deck there. It's a bit of a crisis for, again, we weren't those people, but for people that thought they would get into the Stanley Cup, it doesn't look like that's happening this year.
Yeah, I mean, there are too many missing pieces, I think, and I think that they have the talent. I think they're a little young. I think there are teams that are well further along than they are. I mean, I think even a team that's in their division, that's their main competitor, Calgary. They made the additions. They added Mike Smith, so their goaltending isn't as big of a problem as it was. They added Hamonic. They kept Stone as a UFA, so they're 5 deep on defense, and they have talent up front. And now I don't think they're as talented as Edmonton is up front, but I think their defense is a lot better. So
it is better, but they don't have anybody who's really offensively minded on defense. And I do think having all those same kind of defensemen on that team is bad.
Well, and that'll be up to Peter Chiarelli in terms of being able to address that before the deadline. I mean, I don't know where the trade market is going to be for defensemen. If you look, the number one in terms of potential rentals, and
Yeah.
this might be somebody that Edmonton would want because he's an offensive minded blue liner, is Mike Green. And he's making $6 million a year, and they have the cap room for a rental for this year, but it would be a pure rental. I don't think that. I mean, they would have to trade somebody to make room to keep him and re-sign him, but
Yeah.
that might be somebody who helps them. But
Maybe.
The last score on the list is one that still baffles me. The Vancouver Canucks beat the Washington Capitals 6-2.
I did make reference to that game, and I didn't make it my lock. I should have. I felt good about it. I did talk about Nielsen. You can't take that away from me, Mike.
No, I'm not taking. Well, okay. This shows how outlandish this turn of this positive turn in Vancouver is. Derek Dorsett scored his 6th goal of the season last night.
Can't stop him, Mike.
You can only hope to contain him. I mean, come on, please.
Has he ever had double-digit goals?
I don't think so.
It's amazing. I have to admit, it really is amazing.
Yes.
Hey, I mean, they're getting great goaltending out of Anders Nielsen. You have to give him credit, no matter what. Their defense has been way better than what you thought it was going to be. You have to admit that. Now, he actually had 12 goals with Columbus in 2011-12.
Okay.
So he's halfway there. Those 12 goals came in 77 games. He's got 6 in 10. He's trending well, Mike.
Oh my God!
People should pick him up in all fantasy leagues.
Yeah, there you go. He's that dark horse pick.
Yep.
Okay, couple notes here, and then we'll look through the chat to see if we got any questions. If you have any questions, either send it to us on Twitter or in our chat on YouTube. If you want, Russ, take a look in there if you can see something.
Yeah, I do see some things.
Okay.
So definitely.
All right, but Vegas made some news yesterday and this morning. The Shipachyov situation is sort of playing out. He did report to Chicago. He's apparently going to play for the Chicago Wolves. A report from Avis Clinans, who's on our on Hockey Buzz, yesterday got a statement from SKA St. Petersburg, who, in spite of them being 25-0-2, they let's just say, they stated the obvious. He's under an NHL contract. We can't talk to him until he's not on an NHL contract. But the gist of the statement was, if he was available, they'd be interested.
Sure, because then they might not have even those 2 overtime losses.
Right. Yeah. They just this is the Harlem Globetrotters and the rest of the KHL as the Washington Generals. But yeah, I mean, basically, they're interested because then obviously another thing, he could play in the Olympics for Russia.
Right.
So I mean, that's another factor. But he would have to have his contract terminated. They would have to waive him to terminate the contract.
Right. He'd have to give up that money.
Right. And that's a lot of money. I mean, we're talking about $7 million. He's already got $2 million from the signing bonus. That you're talking about $7 million.
He's not giving that up. He's married.
Yeah, there you go. End of story, folks. The other news, the veteran. Now, this is the funny thing. We saw all these machinations early off. Shipachyov being sent to Chicago, Shea Theodore being sent to the AHL because he had AHL. He had waiver exemption.
Right.
All to keep some of these veteran defensemen who they've been trying to maybe trade here or there and get something. Well, right. Today they waived Jason Garrison.
Yeah, he's way past it. And I knew that when they got him. They knew that too.
Yeah, they would, but it's clearly a indication that George McPhee miscalculated here, because I think he thought he could get something.
No, I don't think he totally miscalculated. Didn't he get something to take him?
Or well, no, I'm talking about him flipping. I mean, I don't know if he.
I know, but he definitely. What did he get for taking?
Yeah, that I don't know. That I don't know.
Let's see.
But I mean, if you can find that out, yeah. But I mean, with some other players, I mean, he got a first round pick to take Mikhail Grabovski off of the Islanders' hands. He had other situations where he got extra draft picks, but I'm not 100% sure about Garrison. But I mean, it helped out Tampa Bay in terms of getting their cap in order to get that money off the books.
All right, so they got Nikita. Second-round pick.
Okay.
That's what they got. So they were okay with taking him, knowing that they got a young player and they got a draft pick, a pretty high pick.
But I also think part of their calculation, otherwise they wouldn't have sent Theodore and Tuck. And
hold on. Actually, it was more than that. It was the line ran out on it. Not only was it a 2017 second-rounder, which was this last year, and I'll tell you who they took, also a fourth-rounder this year.
Okay,
that's worth it.
So yes, but again, I also think they wouldn't have sent these guys down to Chicago if they weren't trying to also get picks for these players. Like by moving them out, and they clearly haven't been able to do that. The market for Colin Miller or Braden McNabb or Jason Garrison is just not there. So they got the benefit.
All right, you want to know who they got?
With the second-round pick?
Yeah, because I'm going to assume that the Tampa one was the deeper one.
Was it Nicholas? Was it Haig? Was it Haig?
No, Haig was the first one. Jake Lecision, that's a hell of a player. Curtis Lecision's kid, and we will be talking about him on Hockey Prospect Radio. He is an excellent prospect. Look, McPhee knew what he was doing. He doesn't care that he's eating this salary. That's really the bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that what they did early in the season.
This is no different than what the Leafs were doing a couple of years ago.
Well, yeah. I mean, the difference is that the Leafs were successful in losing and getting down, and right now Vegas is 7-1, and part of them has to be very happy that they're having this much success, and the other part of them is like, we're never going to get the first pick playing this way.
True.
And Rasmus Dahlin or Svechnikov would look pretty good on that team. And I don't know, we won't know the details of the depth of the draft for a little while. At least people like me won't for a little while. So I mean, I'm sure it, like in most drafts, the 8th or 9th pick is not going to be as good as the second pick.
Right.
Okay. Any questions in the chat?
Yeah. First one we'll deal with is, what do I think of like Bunievis, what he did last night? And last night he had a good game. He looked really good. This was a game that gave me a little hope that maybe some offense will creep into his game that we saw in college, but what I wasn't sure we were going to see in the pro game. He did have 3 assists last night. He is a real center, and that was part of what Brandon was bringing up here, that, hey, it's nice when you have 4 real centers. And it's true, because Nieves has good size and pretty decent speed. It used to be world-class speed. I don't think it's world-class speed for the NHL. But you know what? That's something that helped him, because they had Cracknell just clogging up that spot, and that was a Lindy pick. They bring him over. Let's get Cracknell. Let's pick him up on waivers. Okay, let's play him for 7 or 8 games and get nothing out of him. Okay. But now they brought up Nieves, and so that helps. So with a chance, that really did do something for their game there. Now, also, it's been announced that Pavlik will play against Montreal Saturday. No real shock there, because Lundqvist has never done well in Montreal. I think he did finally win a game in their playoffs a couple of years ago when Tokarski got in and all that. But other than that, regular season, Lundqvist has been horrible in Montreal. So Pavlik, while looking okay, he didn't really get tested all that much against Arizona. we'll play against Montreal. So we'll see how that one works out and see if the Rangers can have a 2-game winning streak, because that would be a big deal. That would be their biggest winning streak of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking for questions here on Twitter, and somebody sent us a picture of Bigfoot taking. I think actually.
Here's the thing. Everybody's getting on me about the Nash contract thing. Yes, NBA backups get more money than Rick Nash. Okay, I get that. I was just talking about players that actually play and play a lot. I'm sure there were badly paid Brooklyn Nets. Yes, I knew that after I was saying that. But I'm talking more of the other sports. I was almost going to give a basketball.
We're talking about real sports here, folks.
Yeah, I was almost going to say aside from basketball.
Yes.
Don't count David Wright, because David Wright's not playing.
And probably never will, folks.
Look, and I'm sure there's a few more. There's a couple baseball players that make more than 7.9, but you get my drift. That's all I was saying. Let's see. Now, here's the thing. So this is not really a question, but Brandon had brought up that Yager's coming back Saturday. I think it's too soon. If he pulled his groin, I think it's too soon. Now, he may have just, again, you have to trust Yager for this. I really think he should be sent down on a conditioning assignment. I'm sticking to that. I don't think he is what you would consider in NHL shape. I just don't.
Well, maybe they think they can get away with putting him on the fourth line for a couple games, getting 8 or 10 minutes and doing it that way instead of – if he doesn't – that's the thing, Russ. If he doesn't want to go to California and play in the NHL, he's not going to do it. It might even be written in his contract. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so I don't know. I don't think you're ever going to see him play in the AHL. I think even if it's a conditioning stint, I don't think based on this, I don't think he wants to do it.
All right, so Thomas asks, do we see this trade deadline being active, or will it be slow like the last few years? No, it'll be active just simply because of Vegas. Vegas will have like a ton of transactions.
Yes, and I don't know whether that'll have a domino effect because –
well, it has to some degree, right? Because it's going to some degree. So it'll be more active than it was last year. Last year – Didn't we make a sandwich? No, I did the report from X Rink last year.
Yes. Well, and then this is the thing. For all the deals where Vegas is trading players that they have on their roster, say I'll use for example a Colin Miller. Now they probably want to keep him because he's younger, but some of these other defensemen like Braden McNabb, like that I mentioned before. Team needs a 5'6" defenseman. They're gonna go to McPhee and say, "What do you want for him?" And they'll trade these guys out. They have, and most of these players that they're trading are UFAs, so they can retain salary on 3 of them, and not have any kind, up to 50% of their salary, so they can make deals work based on that with contending teams if they want to do that. I mean, if LA has a shortage on defense and wanted to get Braden McNabb back. And they're tight against the cap, they could deal with Vegas. Vegas could retain 50% of the salary, and there you go. But what's also going to happen is Vegas is going to be sort of the conduit for teams that are looking to open up cap space. Once they trade some of these guys out, other teams are going to be looking like the Rangers. Say if the Rangers had a move in place and they wanted to get rid of Rick Nash, and Rick Nash would say, "Okay, I'll go to Vegas for the last. I'll take a extended vacation in Vegas for a month and a half."
Yeah,
Vegas would be willing to take on that salary because he's a UFA, because it's not going to be anything on the books. They've got empty cap space. They can do it. Other teams are going to use Vegas, and they're going to have to pay them to do this. But as a landing zone for some of these players, Toronto did it a couple years ago, took on a bunch of players, and I think Vegas is going to do that. But I also think that, and I wrote about this today. There are situations around the league that, depending on how these teams play out, that there are certain players, and I mentioned Ekman Larson. I mean, that's a long shot situation, but I think it's something that's on the radar. A guy like Chris Tanev in Vancouver, if Vancouver starts to go down to where I expect them to be, which is, out of the playoffs, they have to re-sign Gabranson and Stetcher. And they've already and they have money tied up on Alex Edler. Nobody's going to take Alex Edler with his injury situation. And they've re-signed Ben Hutton. They're spending a lot of money on defense. They're going to have to spend more. And I don't know how sold they are on Tanev. I mean, Tanev's one of their.
Yeah, I don't know how sold they are on him either. I'll be honest.
Other players like Green, like Sami Vatanen.
Clearly the Canucks will be buyers.
If they're in contention for a playoff spot, yeah, that's the thing. If
they're going to be buyers, Mike, whether they are or they aren't.
Just dumb. It's really just dumb. That team is so desperately in need of a rebuild. It's sickening. But okay,
All right, so here's another question.
Keep lying to yourself, Vancouver. There you go.
Do I think it's likely that Brandon wants to know if I think it's likely that the Rangers are making a trade before Christmas. I think it's a better chance that the Yankees will hire Don Mattingly, and I don't think either will happen.
Yeah, honestly, as a Yankee fan, just to get off the hockey page for 1 second, I would love to see them hire Mattingly.
But I think it's too much pressure for him, and I've watched him. He's an average manager at best.
They just want, honestly, right now, they just want a push-button manager. They want a manager.
I don't think he's the guy.
They want a manager. According to one of the reports, they want a manager that Cashman knows, that Cashman is comfortable with, but also will include management in their making up lineups and.
Well, here's the thing, though. This is the problem. Mattingly is fiery. He definitely will bench Sanchez, and Sanchez will never see catching time because that will drive him crazy the way he's lackadaisical defensively behind the bench. Someone gave me this argument the other day that they just need a catcher whisperer, and Sanchez will be a good catcher because he has a great arm. And I'm like, Cliff Johnson had a real good arm too, but he just couldn't catch. And I see the same thing in Sanchez.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I don't think the Ranger trade will happen. I don't even think Mattingly to the Yankees will happen. I don't.
Yeah. Well, okay, folks. Good show, Russ. We'll be back on Monday with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. For Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thanks for watching, and remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.